Merrin, thank you so much for being here today. Obviously, we're getting set for Mother's Day, a very exciting holiday for a lot of people, not just here in West Michigan, but really all across the country. But there are those who are maybe dealing with the holiday a little bit differently. Maybe it's more recently, or maybe it's been for a few years, the loss of their mother. They're not able to celebrate the special holiday for moms with them in person. I mean, it can really be a difficult holiday for those who maybe aren't able to spend it with their mothers, correct?
So true. I think, especially if it's our first Mother's Day without mom, it can feel quite sharp, right? And we might think we're ready for the holiday to come up and then it arrives. And especially, if we have our own children or we're still in a caregiving role in some way, um, our families can be kind of preparing for that for us as moms. But if we're missing our mom, that can just bring another element into that can really be quite painful, in addition to the fact that, right, everybody's relationship with their mom is different. And so it can look just a variety of ways based on kind of how we left that relationship or what that looked like during life.
hmm and the grief element, for people that are dealing with that, just not being able to spend it with their loved ones on a day when that's kind of the idea behind the holiday. I mean, what are some ways that you would recommend sort of dealing with that grief that maybe we are feeling?
Sure. And as I said, it's kind of a kaleidoscope. Everybody's experience will be different, but some common things are, it sounds silly, but just acknowledging the loss, right? Saying out loud things like, wow, this is really hard. And that actually makes a lot of sense. And anybody in my position would feel this way. Kind of helps to cultivate a little bit of that self-compassion and grace that can go a long way in the healing process and just dealing with the emotions that are coming up at that moment. Other things that we can do as well is I'm a person who does not like to journal, but it works. And so part of the reason for that is because we can get, kind of those spirally difficult thoughts that are happening in our brains out onto paper. And it gives that, a channel for those thoughts to go and just to, it doesn't have to make any sense. Nobody else is going to read it, right? You can just kind of express whatever it is you're feeling without any judgment onto a piece of paper. And that can be quite cathartic as well.
hmm But it's not just dealing with that grief. I mean, there are ways for people to still celebrate Mother's Day, even with the loss of their mother. I mean, are there any ways that you would maybe recommend, or probably the best ways, especially for those who are dealing with it? Maybe this is their first Mother's Day without their mom. I mean, what are some ways that they can still celebrate, still enjoy the holiday, still honoring their mother, even if she's not there?
You're absolutely right. We can find so many ways to keep our loved ones close to us, even if they're not here physically with us anymore. And I think for moms, something that we can do is, right, if we have siblings, that's a really easy way is just to kind of say, hey, do we want to have a Zoom and kind of just, or start a text thread or whatever the case may be, to just kind of share funny stories about mom, things that we loved about her, things that made us laugh or maybe even roll our eyes, right? Family jokes. We can, if we're having a Mother's Day celebration in the family somewhere, we can incorporate some of her favorite traditions, favorite foods, scents, all those kinds of things to kind of honor her and give her a place in the celebrations. And you can make that as big or small as you have capacity for, right? Maybe it's just a moment of sharing during dinner and we move right on from that because that's all we feel like we can do that day. Or maybe it's a lot more than that. So have grace for yourself again. Know that you can choose to engage in whatever traditions work for you and feel good and leave the ones that don't, for now. And something that I want to say too is that grief is very strange and that it can make us feel really guilty for feeling happy or having a good time. And I just want to remind us that that's normal and that it's okay. And you can hold kind of those two warring emotions within yourself at one time, and that that's all right. And you're allowed to feel happy and to be with your family. And furthermore, reminding ourselves too that, like, what is it that our loved one would want to see? They would be happy to see us enjoying our family together, right? But I know that's something that's just so common. It can feel so strange as just to feel guilty for having a good time. So there's so many things we can do to keep mom close. Um, Even just little ritual things too, right? We can visit her gravesite, plant a memorial, light a candle for her. So many ideas.
No, I think that was really important that you touched on the fact that relying on other people. We always hear about the need for people to kind of reach out, express how they're feeling, but really putting it out there that this is a time when you really should be relying on those other people if you need it, I think is a really great point to make there, Merrin. But you guys over at Emmanuel Hospice are also offering some grief support sessions over the next couple of weeks that people can kind of take advantage of. Again, kind of having that someone else to help them out, go through some things. Talk to me a little bit more about what those grief support sessions are all about.
Sure. So our grief support program is quite robust. Anybody can call, similar to our end of life care, anybody can call just to chat with us. We're available 24/7 to take your call, to just chat, and get back to you during business hours too for grief support needs. But we have not only one-on-one support, so we can do visits, calls to help either provide direct support or connect you with someone that is a good fit for you. Or we have a host of grief support group and workshop offerings. We just finished a workshop wherein we kind of use beach glass and make a piece of art together in order to process those feelings. So things like that are always available through Emmanuel Hospice. There is no cost for our grief support programming, thanks to many generous donors that help to support these services. And our next group is happening on June 2 from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And there's a bunch more through June and July. And you can find that on emmanuelhospice.org/grief support, or you can call us on our main number, as I said, anytime and just ask questions about that.
And for people that are looking to utilize those grief support sessions, what would be the best way to make sure that they are at least aware of when they are happening, and if they do want to go ahead and join them, what is sort of the best avenue for them to make sure that they are able to partake in them?
Sure, yeah, I would say that website, we have an RSVP button there, and it lists kind of all the programming throughout the summer and spring into summer here. And if there's any questions about that, as I said, you can always call, and our grief support specialists will be happy to answer any questions you have or help you get set up with those.
All right, fantastic stuff. Merrin, thank you so much for stopping by on this very, very important topic. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.